Welcome to this edition of FrankTalk. With you here is Ali Jalal, and I'm together with Dr. Amir Lukman Haruna, a development advocate. Today we're going to talk about the menace of drug abuse among young people. Drug abuse is one of the most critical public health concerns in Nigeria. We are every day losing a lot of young people to the menace of abusing drugs. People with potential and vibrant people who should have been some responsible members of society. There are people that cannot help themselves, and the society is not doing much as it should expected to do in helping them. So how do we solve these problems? Welcome, Dr. Amir, to this show.
Thank you, Ali. Thank you for having me.
Drug abuse is a very critical issue among young people today. A lot of people, when you speak to them, they seem confused. They cannot say what exactly instigate them to start abusing drugs. What do you think are some of the factors that lead people into drug addiction?
All right. Thank you for having me once again, Ali. There are so many factors that lead young people to abuse drugs. It could be from the economic angle of it. It could be psychological. It could be curiosity as well.
Peer pressure, maybe.
Yeah, peer pressure and so on. So, but let me talk about the last one, which you just made mention of, the curiosity and the peer pressure. A lot of young people want to feel among. They want to do like their friends, because you have friends who are taking drugs, or you have someone who you see him as a role model who is taking drugs, especially musicians that we idolize. Yes, we glorify them today. So we want to be like them, and in most of their music, in their movies, you see them taking drugs. So we want to also do it. They glorify drugs, so we also want to be like them. So out of that pressure, or out of that curiosity, we try to imitate them, and then we fall victims of drug abuse. And again, there are ones that, which I said is economical issue. People don't, most people that are unemployed, they are bored, they have a lot of problems disturbing them, family pressure, to mention a lot. But they are trying to find ways to do away with that problem. So they likely have friends or other people who advise them, if you use this drug, if you abuse this substance, you will not be worried again. Your problem will just disappear. So they now fall victim of that. They start taking drugs, and before you know it, they are already into drugs. There are ones that are like I said earlier. Okay, I've explained that issue of peer pressure is there already. There are those that just start taking it for fun, yes, exactly, for the fun part of it, because they feel if you take drugs, it will, like what they call, take you slow, you know. So they start taking drugs for that reason.
Yeah, so like young people are at a vulnerable age where like they can easily be influenced, and they also be curious about doing something. So like on the part of the parents, what do you think the parents should do? Because definitely the parents should take a role in this, because sometimes some clear agreements start from home. So what should a parent do to ensure that their children do not fall victims of drug abuse?
There are a lot of things parents can do. One is proper training, which as a parent you have responsibility to know what your son is doing or your daughter is doing, where is she, who are her friends, or who are his friends. And we should normalize discussing with our issues that we feel we shouldn't discuss with our children. Anything that bother them, we should be able to talk to them about it and be free with them. Most parents today, particularly, we make it like a cultural thing here in Africa. We don't socialize with our children. We don't bring them closer. We don't make them our friends. So for that, they hardly talk to us about issues that are bothering them, or issues that they feel it's not normal to discuss with parents. So they discuss it with their friends, and most of those friends they discuss with are not exposed, or they don't have the thinking to guide them directly. So they may mislead them. That's why you find some of them taking drugs, because a friend advised him, okay, this is the way to get out of the problem. Meanwhile, had it been he talked to his parent, I'm sure his parent wouldn't have said he should go and start taking drugs. They would definitely advise him in the right way.
Yeah, so as somebody who has been a social advocate for a number of years with experience in that line, when somebody comes to you complaining about drug abuse, that he's a drug abuser or a drug addict, let's call it this, what would be your advice to that person, or what would you suggest the person to do?
When it comes to issue of someone that is into drugs, you have to identify, okay, at what level he is.
Yes.
There are ones that you can talk to them, you can advise them, they can stop it. That is if they are at curiosity level.
Yes.
Maybe they are just they just started, so you can advise them and they may heed to your advice. But there are ones that are already addicted, or they are even dependent on the drugs. So if they are at that level, there's no any advice that you give them that will work actually, because they find happiness in the drugs. If they didn't take it, they won't be happy, they'll be bored. It's just their life, so they are addicted to it.
Like it has become part of their
it has come part of their system.
Yes,
That's where they get their happiness. It's just like their food. If they didn't take it, they won't be fine, they won't be okay. So no amount of advice that you give them that they will understand and then said they will stop taking drugs. But those people need what we call rehabilitation, which is another issue on its own when it comes to drug abuse. So the best advice is to advise them to go under rehab. We have though the centers we have actually something else to discuss again. We refer them to some rehab centers that we know they are good, or some therapists that we know they can be able to assist them and put them under their care.
So talking about rehabilitation centers, so do you think the government has been doing enough in countering this drug abuse?
No, at all. Government has not been doing a lot, except for some state governments in Nigeria where I think they have an agency. Is Kaduna that I know. Kaduna have even an agency that is responsible for, aside from the federal government-owned agency, that is trying to see they are doing something on the drug abuse issue. But most states don't have anything put in place to address the issue of drug abuse, particularly the rehab centers that I'm talking about. And most of the private ones we have, it's just something else.
They're not affordable?
Exactly, are not affordable. And the ones that are affordable are something else. In fact, you hardly see people go in and come out better. You hardly see.
Okay.
Yes,
really?
so it doesn't serve its own purpose. So I feel government need to do more on it. There's need for standard rehab centers that is affordable for all, not just for few.
Okay, yeah, that's very important, necessary actually. So like because they say 1 in 7 persons between the ages of 15 and 64 years has abused drugs in Nigeria. This is a UN statistic. So, but there's also this tendency that men, or let's say male gender, the male gender, abuse drug higher than the female gender. What do you think are the factors? Is it like men have higher proximity, or
not just that, actually
the psychological factors are higher?
Yeah, I can agree with you on that, but not just that. I've said it earlier, like the family pressure, the expectation for you being a man. You know, our society is constructed in such a way that as a man you are given a lot of responsibilities that you cannot even handle. As a man, you are expected to be this. You have to. As a man, you are expected not to show your emotions. You know, so all these things, you are not supposed to cry. You're not supposed to talk to your talk your problems to others as a man up. Do you get? So for that, you have people holding a lot of problems in them. So the only thing they find happiness with is taking drugs, or happiness in is just when they take the drugs, when they abuse drugs. So that's why you have more men going into it than women. But recently we are having
there are cases of women taking codeine, especially recently in northern Nigeria.
Exactly, northern part of Nigeria, which depression, it's also a factor that leads to that.
Yeah, it's also, apart from depression as a factor, also like I think you know, like for codeine, that is all other syrup, cough syrup that women take. It's easier to access, you know, than to take cannabis, that is weed, for instance. Like I think for a woman to just go to a chemist to say I want to buy codeine, they just give her. But for her to access the way to buy weed, and you know, so access to drugs also matters in this conversation, I think. We have NDLEA in Nigeria. So how effective has it been in tackling the menace of drug abuse in our society?
Well, they've been trying their best. Let me not say they have not been doing well, especially recently with the new chairman effort. The directors rather, I think the agency is quite doing well than it used to, but they have to do more. Actually, their coverage is not that enough. And not only the NDLA, there's need, like I said earlier, Kaduna State government has in place an agency also supporting the NDLA in tackling issues of drug abuse, but they need to do more actually in not just prosecuting the sellers.
Yes.
We need to also, the dealers and the sellers, we need to also look at possible ways of enlightening the youth on the minors of drug abuse.
Not to do it in the first place.
And also see how we can help those that are into it. Yeah, like the case of those I mentioned earlier, those that are addicted and dependent on the drugs. So we need to do more on that aspect. To have, we are expecting to see the NDLA building more rehab centers that are well equipped, that have qualified personnel managing it, so that young people that are into drugs can go there, access their services, and come out better, so that they can be productive in the society.
Yeah. Okay. So, what are some of the consequences or the major consequences of drug abuse?
It has a lot of consequences. Let me start with the productivity aspect of it. You know, your brain is a driver of everything you do. If you have a mental problem, definitely, you know, you will not be hired for any job, any reasonable job. Nobody, any company will hire you and give you a job that requires you
hired,
to...
you eventually be sacked.
Exactly. Even if you're hired, you may be sacked. There's tendencies that you may be sacked anytime because you always have issues. Your brain is not normal, definitely. You continue to mix things up, so you be fired. And again, it weakens your body. It's come with a lot of complications. So you may likely, the health aspect of it. So you may likely be weak always. So you won't have the energy to be able to carry out work or production if you are working in a production company. So in short, you won't be productive if you are taking drugs. And another aspect of it is a social aspect. People hardly come close to you. People hardly see you as someone they should socialize with. Exactly. My parents may be telling your friends to stay away from you. That stigmatization will always be there. And that may lead to a lot of things, which depression is one of it.
And it will increase your chances of taking more drugs.
Exactly, chances of taking more drugs. And we have even cases of those who even commit suicide because of the stigmatization, which I'm not encouraging actually. So if someone is into drugs, that doesn't mean we shouldn't. That doesn't mean we should avoid him, or we should see him as something else, not as human being. We should be able to bring him closer to us, talk to him, and see how we can help him.
Yeah, somebody that we should help.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think
and again, not only on the social aspect of it, even we are religious people. They are also religious injunctions that prohibit one from taking drugs. So that means if you are taking drugs, you may likely have an issue with...
You're committing sin.
You're committing a sin, and then you may likely have an issue with God. And when you have an issue with God, the end may not be good for you. So
that's true.
It's actually part of it.
Okay, Dr. Amir, I think it's easy to link a relationship between crime and drug abuse. Don't you think most criminal people, or like a large percentage of criminal people, are as well drug abusers?
Yeah, sure, of course. When you are in your normal sense, there are things that you will not do. But when you take drugs, you will definitely do anything that will just come to your mind. A normal person will not just, if you're normal, I emphasize on normal, you won't just wake up and think of raping somebody. But if you take drugs, it may give you maybe a déjà vu of something you've watched in the movie, and then it will definitely push you to say, go and do this. Because you are taking drugs, you've seen a robbery scene in a movie, you start thinking of, okay, let me do the same as well. So before you know it, you start committing serious crimes that ordinarily, without the influence of drugs, you will not take. Like you said,
phone snatching,
exactly, phone snatching, all these things. Most of the people that do that are on drug abusers. They're always on drugs. So they abuse drugs. That's why they are into all these criminal activities. But beyond that, we need to look at issue of unemployment as well. Is also a factor that is leading people to do all this. You know, when somebody is not employed, is not productive, there's tendencies that he will always try to find a way to get something for himself, which may lead him to all these criminal activities.
Yeah, I think
I'm not just trying to. What I'm trying to say is not just the drug aspect of it, but there are people that get into criminality because they don't have things or they don't have work to do.
Preoccupy their minds, you understand?
Exactly.
Something like that. Yes. Exactly. And they say an idle mind is the devil's workshop.
Exactly.
Yes. So, in conclusion, what are the advice you would give, or what are the suggestion you will give to society or to government or to individuals concerning drug abuse?
Okay, to an individual, I think if you listen from the beginning, we have said a lot of things which I'm sure you pick one or two things as consequences if you are taking drugs. You shouldn't. There's no reason to take drugs. When you have a problem, reach out to your parent first. They shouldn't be. They should be the one that you talk to first. Or your family members. I'm sure they will not guide you wrongly. They won't tell you to go and start taking drugs. They will guide you properly. Or you should look at responsible friends, people that you feel they are responsible in the society. Reach out to them and talk to them about your personal problems. They will advise you. And stop glorifying musicians or politicians, even people that you see on social media or on movies. Your role models that are taking drugs. For the fact that they're taking, that doesn't mean you should take. You are living in a different society, in a different reality as well. They're living in a society where they have every support. If they're addicted, there's a good rehab center to rehabilitate them. They have a good economic source and what have you. But for you, if you take drugs and then you end up where you are not even employed, probably you're not even you don't even have any social support.
You're messing up your life.
You're messing up your life, exactly. Even if they messed up their life, they have support there, but here you don't have such support. So you have to behave yourself and understand.
And even if there was the support here, like there's no justification for drug abuse.
Exactly. No, yeah, sure. There's no justification, and like I said, you have a religious duty, which you have to, at least as a believer, you have to understand that it's a sin to take drugs. And to the society, we should understand that we have a great role to play. Particularly, I have said it several times that in our communities, you see those dealers operating freely without us questioning them. There are particular provisions or shops or medical outlets that you go and see them selling drugs that people abuse, but nobody questioned them, nobody will report them to authority. I don't know why. Obviously because they are part of our community or they are our family or friends, we don't report them, and they are doing more harm to the society than we might think of. Because those drug abusers, if they actually abuse drugs, all the crimes committed in the society will affect both of us. We may end up being killed as a result. So if we didn't come together as a society and said no to anybody selling drugs, to fight it together and be a responsible society, and we should see everybody's child as our own. We should try as much as possible to guide him. If we see anybody abusing drugs, it's not for us to start cursing him or castigating him. We have to bring him closer and understand why and see how we can help him and the parent to get him out of the drugs abuse. That's the responsibility of the society. And to the government, government has more responsibility than any other person, than individual in the society. Though the government is from the individual and the society, but as a body, government must use all its agencies and power at its own disposal to prosecute drug sellers and dealers. That is very, very important. Because if the dealers always get away with it, they will continue to sell. But when we prosecute them, we block all the channels they supply the drugs. That will really help in reducing the number of the drug dealers and by extension the drug abusers. And again, create employment for the youth. Most people are unemployed. So if we didn't provide employment for them, they are not productive. They may resort to taking drugs to take away that trauma and stress of family pressure that I said earlier, of having not anything doing. So it's important that we should create opportunities and employment for the youth. That's it in short.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Amir Haruna, for those insightful remarks about drug abuse and the young people in Nigeria. With that, we have come to the end of today's edition of Frank Talk. As usual, it's Ali Jalal, and thanks so much to our guest, Dr. Amir Lukman Haruna. See us next time, same time.